it's a crystal that's a liquid. And I'm not making this stuff up, and you guys have all like heard of a liquid crystal display, right? Like this screen here, LCD, liquid crystal display. If you've got a liquid crystal, you can get it to transmit tremendous amounts of information. We get that like psychedelic Apple iPod thing going on where the music and the colors go off, all crazy designs of mathematics, because the liquid crystal can transmit that information. With me? Right? We agree on that? That's from a liquid crystal. Water can be a liquid crystal, or it can be really disorganized. Here's what disorganized water looks like, a swamp. That's disorganized water. Here's what disorganized water looks like, distilled water. Why? Because say we took water that's like that honeycomb, it's all organized. All those little Mickey Mouse head H2Os are all really organized, right? But we start heating that water up, because we're going to distill it. We start heating it up, until one by one it reaches the vaporization point. What's that point? What vaporizes water? What temperature? 212. We hit 212, 100 degrees Celsius. And little H2O Mickey Mouse heads start plinking off as gas. Ding, ding, ding. And water goes from being a liquid to expanding 1,700 times into a gas. Now it can't be organized, can it? Because the molecules are all over the place as a gas. Does that make sense? I call that shaking the Etch-a-Sketch. Right? You remember when you shake the Etch-a-Sketch? You get rid of the information. You put a bunch of information on there, and then you shake it up, and it goes away. Water's like that. You take the liquid crystal, good quality spring water, you heat it up, or you push it through a filter, or you push it through pipes, or you suck it with suction, or you pump it, or you treat it with light, and what happens is you disorganize the structure. You shake the Etch-a-Sketch, and the crystal breaks apart. So it's like if we smash this screen and no longer it can do that, you know what happens when you start pressing on one? All of a sudden it loses its ability to transmit information. Therefore your bloodstream, if you were to drink that water, would not be well informed. You would have poorly informed blood. Whereas if you drank the liquid crystal, you would have highly informed blood. We could relate that to your intelligence, maybe to your consciousness, maybe to your ability to perceive things. So what we want is good quality water. All of those destructive, killing processes shake the Etch-a-Sketch and damage the water. Water wants to come to the surface as springs, and we want to go to those sources of water and gather our water. So some people are like, well, what about, okay, I drink spring water. I go and get bottled spring water. Here's what I want you to know. Bottled spring water is usually really bottled well water. It's bottled well water. If that's cool, look, if I couldn't get spring water, my next choice is not going to come from a bottle, probably it's not going to come from a distiller, it's not going to come from a filter. My next choice is probably going to be well water if I can get it. But well water's usually got what in it? Minerals. It's hard, right? This is interesting because, now picture this, you've got all the, it's not like we dig down into the ground and we're going to just get sand, right? We've got soil, right? And then under that we're going to have some sand, maybe some clay, and then eventually we hit the rock layer, the bedrock. The aquifers where the springs come from are beneath the bedrock, they're down deep, right? And you guys, some of you probably got 400-foot wells, I'm talking about big artesian wells. And you could be like, wait a second, how come that spring water comes up and it's got very little minerals? And then we drill down into the same aquifer and we get water from there and it's full of minerals. Why? Because that water's not ready to come to the surface, because it's not mature. It's not mature. It hasn't had time to drop its minerals. So, there's a guy in the audience I'm looking forward to introducing you to in a little while, but we're not going to get there yet. He taught me this recently. He said that the laws were changed, right? Because you guys are all starting to hear now about the issues around some of the bottling, the big bottling companies like Nestle and Coca-Cola. Think about the amount of drinks you can just go buy at a supermarket in cans. Where's that water coming from? Where's that beer? Where's all that water coming from? What about industry? Where's all this water coming from? All right, you can't just bottle off spring water. Water is just coming to the surface. There's just not enough of it. So what they do is they're going to drill down a borehole. Now they wanted to still be able to call that spring water because it's not so attractive to go buy bottles of well water, is it? It's like, well, right? Spring is like spring. Well, so did anybody see the OK Water video that I put on the internet?
Yes.
I just got back from the most amazing spring in California. I'm driving through LA with my friends, and we drive by this place called OK Water. I was like, whoa, hit the brakes. We're like, pull out, and listen to the sign, OK Water. Really good marketing, guys. The water's okay. It's well, it's okay. That's awesome, right? Hey, what was I just saying? So they can't get enough water out of the springs from the overflow. What we want to get is water that's so abundant that the aquifer is so full that it's bringing water to the surface and overflowing it, and you're harvesting off just the top. Just the top. Just what's left over. The good stuff that's so ripe, like when an apple's ripe on a tree and it's just ready to fall off, and you're not hurting the tree because you're just taking what's fallen off. It's like that. When the spring water's mature, it comes to the surface. Well, they can't get enough like that to fill all those bottles, to supply all those people who are drinking water out of bottles. So they got to drill a borehole. You drill a borehole and you start bringing water up pretty fast. Maybe you even siphon it up, suck it up there. Well, that water's not ready. It's coming up too fast. It's not coming up slow enough to drop its minerals, so it starts coming up with pissing out all these minerals. Right? So that causes a problem, and it drains aquifers, doesn't it? I know you guys heard about that, because right here in Shapley and right here in Wells, they're having to create legislation to try to keep Nestle out of here, because Nestle wants to take the water out of the aquifer. Yeah, Poland Springs, right? That's Nestle. Oh, Poland Springs. All right, where are we going with this? So, that's not really spring water, and, you're going to have a hard time. Well, you know what? I like this one. I found this out recently, too. You guys know Fiji water? Yeah. Great well water in an expensive bottle. Right? Oh, my water comes so elite. My water comes from a Fijian well. Fijian well. Great. But I just felt like adding the gas mileage. Right? I'm really paying for the cool bottle and the shipping. So it's just well water, right? It's just water that's not ready. It's just water that's being raked out or sucked out of the earth. Here's the thing. There's not enough spring water for everyone to drink spring water. So a lot of people are just not going to get spring water. That's cool. A lot of people are going to drink tap water. A lot of people are going to drink well water. A lot of people are going to drink, spring water. But I'm not. And you don't have to. Some of you are like, I don't even care about this. Some of you are like, wow, what am I going to do? I want to do that. What are we going to do? Here's what you're going to do. You're going to start finding springs. You can access springs, and you can get mature water if you want to take it to that extreme health level where your vibrance and your intelligence and your ability to communicate is going to go to that next level, where you really start attracting powerfully because your body's made out of your bloodstream's a liquid crystal. You're going to have to find springs. For years, I've been going to springs now. I collect all my own water. That was a process. So I did that over time. And I started with big plastic bottles that eventually switched me over to plastic bottles with corks in them, which then switched over to glass bottles, which I've now taken to an extreme level. And you guys can imagine the mad science that's going on for me. And for those who hang with me. So I take it to that level. So all my water coming in glass, right? So who's been to a spring before? A lot of you have been to springs, right? A lot of you have. Usually what's going to happen is you're going to pull your car up somewhere and there's going to be a pipe coming out of the ground. Who's been to a spring where there's a pipe sticking out of the ground and it's free and the water just pours out? A lot of you, right? That's awesome. That's what I recommend for most people. That's where you want to start.